The turbine engine of the Batmobile screams at 12,000 RPM, tearing through the abrupt wall of white fog on the outskirts of the highway. Inside the cockpit, the HUD flickers red, proximity warnings scream, then the impact. The car spins, crushing guardrails, and slams into the tree line. Silence. Batman is the apex of human conditioning. He is a master of logic, a scientist, and a tactician. But in Silent Hill, these attributes aren't strengths. They are the specific biological mechanisms the town will use to destroy him. Batman's survival relies on rationalizing the irrational. When the canopy blows and Bruce Wayne steps into the falling ash, checking a utility belt that is now effectively dead weight. He isn't entering a crime scene. He is walking into a psychological environment that weaponizes the need for control. He taps the side of the cowl. Oracle, come in. Static, just the hiss of white noise. His first instinct is to secure the perimeter. In Gotham, this is routine. He activates detective mode. Usually, this system overlays the world with tactical data, heart rates of enemies, structural weaknesses, thermal signatures. It is the tool that makes him a predator. But here, the screen fractures. Let's look at the physics of why WayneTech fails here. Batman's sonar and lidar systems rely on waves bouncing off solid matter and returning a clean signal. The fog in Silent Hill, however, acts as a dense particulate dampener. It doesn't just obscure vision, it scatters data. When he activates the scanner, the feedback loop isn't zero, it's infinite. The HUD blinds him with false positives. He rips the electronic visor offline. This creates an immediate neurological crisis. Batman's brain is trained for hyper-awareness. When you strip a mind like that of sensory input, you trigger the Ganzfeld effect. This is the phenomenon where the brain, starved of visual data, begins to amplify neural noise to fill the silence. The visual cortex starts firing spontaneously. Batman looks into the fog and sees movement that isn't there, a grapple point that dissolves when he reaches for it, a silhouette that looks like a cape. He checks his gauntlet GPS, it's spinning aimlessly. GPS relies on triangulation from satellites in Earth's orbit. In the other world, those satellites don't exist. He is effectively in a pocket dimension with no connection to the ionosphere. For a normal person, this is terrifying. For Batman, it is chemically disastrous. You have to understand the psychology of Bruce Wayne. He is a control freak in the clinical sense. His trauma response is to micromanage his environment. When that situational awareness is stripped away, the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, panics. It dumps cortisol into the bloodstream to prepare for a fight that isn't happening yet. It's similar to what fighter pilots experience during spatial disorientation. When the instruments fail, the brain can't reconcile the lack of horizon. Batman is suffering from cognitive dissonance. He tries to switch to thermal imaging to find a target, any target. He sees heat signatures, faint, pulsing reds in the gray. But they aren't people. The shapes in the fog are moving with biomechanics that shouldn't exist. His heart rate monitor is the only piece of tech still working. 65 beats per minute, 85, 100. He shuts it off. The constant reminder of his own physiological stress is a distraction he can't afford. He has to rely on his body now. But without his eyes in the sky, he's just a man in a suit. And the town is about to test how much that suit can actually take. The radio on his hip hisses louder. It's not a transmission, it's a proximity alarm. Out of the gray asphalt, something drags itself forward. It looks like a human trapped in a straitjacket of its own flesh, writhing in agony. A lying figure. Batman doesn't hesitate, he engages. This is where we see the free-flow combat system in real time. He closes the distance, snaps a tibia with a precise kick, and delivers a concussive strike to where the temple should be. In Gotham, the thug stays down. The fight is over in 6 seconds. But here, the creature just bends. It absorbs the kinetic energy like wet clay. It doesn't scream, it just sprays a mist of acidic bile. Batman rolls away, his cape hissing as the fluid burns through the memory claw. He stands up, ready to zip tie the target, but the thing is already standing back up. This brings us to the first biological failure, energy systems. Batman is an anaerobic machine. His fighting style is explosive, relying on the ATP-PC system. This energy system provides maximum power for short bursts, about 10 to 15 seconds. Every time he counters, leaps, or strikes, he is burning through glycogen stores at a rate comparable to an Olympic sprinter running a 100-meter dash. In a standard night in Gotham, he fights for 45 seconds, then spends 10 minutes grappling, investigating, or interrogating. That recovery window is scientifically critical. It allows his body to flush out lactate, resynthesize ATP, and lower his heart rate. Silent Hill removes the recovery window. Because the monsters are manifestations of the psyche, they don't follow the rules of biological shock. They don't get knocked out. When Batman realizes the lying figure is standing up again, he has to engage a second time and a third. This pushes him into a state of metabolic acidosis. His blood pH begins to drop. Hydrogen ions flood his muscle cells, inhibiting the enzymes responsible for muscle contraction. That heavy, burning sensation in your legs when you try to run too fast? That is your body screaming at you to stop so it can normalize your chemistry. Batman ignores it. He keeps fighting. But there is a tactical problem here too. Batman's martial arts prowess is entirely based on human anatomy. He knows exactly where the vagus nerve sits to induce a feint. Now, look at the mannequins. Look at the lying figures. They have no vagus nerve. They often possess no distinct skeletal structure. He is throwing precise, calculated strikes at biomass that obeys dream logic, not biology. He strikes a joint and the limb twists backward without breaking. He tries a sleeper hold, but the creature doesn't breathe. His entire library of combat data, decades of training, is rendered obsolete in seconds. Meanwhile, the radiostatic is acting as a constant neurological stressor. This creates the adrenaline trap. The static keeps his sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response, redlined. You cannot maintain this state indefinitely. The crash that follows is debilitating. As he drops the third monster, finally crushing it under a heavy boot, his movements are already sluggish. But Batman's will is stronger than his biology. He forces his body to move through the neural inhibition. In the real world, this is how you win a boss fight. In Silent Hill, this is how you induce rhabdomyolysis, the rapid breakdown of muscle tissue that poisons the kidneys. He stands over the twitching corpse of the creature, chest heaving, sweat soaking the Kevlar lining. He won the physical fight, but the efficiency rating was 0. He is burning calories he cannot replenish, fighting enemies that do not feel pain in an environment that refuses to let him rest. His body is slowing down, accumulating damage at a cellular level, but the real damage is beginning to happen in his mind, because he's heading toward the Lakeview Hotel, and the town has been waiting for him to get there. He breaches the heavy oak doors of the Lakeview Hotel, seeking high ground, a vantage point to reset the tactical situation. But as the doors swing shut behind him, the architecture begins to bleed. The floral wallpaper peels away like dead skin, revealing damp red brick. He isn't in a hotel lobby anymore. He is standing in the foyer of the Monarch Theater, and looking down the corridor, the floor isn't wood, it's wet pavement, scattered with pearls that glisten like teeth. In a healthy brain, the hippocampus acts as a librarian. It catalogs memories, tagging them with a time and a place, effectively filing them under past. This allows you to recall a traumatic event without reliving the visceral sensory experience of it. But Silent Hill suppresses the hippocampal function while hyperactivating the amygdala. The timestamp on the memory is removed. For Batman, the memory of his parents' death isn't a historical fact he has processed. It is a living, breathing event happening right now, over and over again. The town forces intrusive memories to bypass the mind's filter and manifest external reality. He isn't remembering Crime Alley, he is physically occupying it. Then the manifestations arrive. From the shadows of the ticket booth, a figure emerges. It drags a massive, rusted object across the floor. Not a sword, but a crowbar the size of a girder. The creature wears a tattered, militaristic jacket and a helmet that is a grotesque fusion of a red hood and a cage. This is the Red Hood manifestation. It represents his failure with Jason Todd. But scientifically, this monster is designed to exploit Batman's specific combat reflexes. The creature moves with the erratic, desperate energy of a child in pain, causing Batman to hesitate. Every time he strikes it, the creature laughs with a voice that sounds like a distorted recording of a teenage boy. This brings us to the concept of moral injury. Unlike PTSD, which is based on fear, moral injury occurs when a person perpetrates, fails to prevent, or witnesses acts that transgress deeply held moral beliefs. Batman's entire psychology is built on the foundation of moral injury, the belief that he failed to save his parents. Silent Hill doesn't just show him a scary monster, it shows him physical proof of his moral failures. It validates his deepest insecurity, that he is not a hero, but a curse to everyone he loves. And this leads to the ultimate tactical paradox, the no-kill rule. In Gotham, Batman's code is absolute. He breaks bones, he causes concussions, but he preserves life. His technology confirms it. Detective mode scans a body and reads unconscious. It validates his morality. But in Silent Hill, that validation is gone. As he looks at the broken forms of the lying figures in the Red Hood entity, a terrifying thought intrudes, a thought planted by the town itself. What if these aren't monsters? We know from the lore of Silent Hill 2, specifically the revelation with Eddie and Angelo, that the monsters can be perceived differently by different people. To Eddie, they were people laughing at him. What if Batman is beating a scared, confused human being to death, but his hallucinating mind sees a monster? Without detective mode to confirm unconscious, the no-kill rule becomes a paralyzing cage. Every punch he throws carries the risk of murder. The ambiguity destroys his conviction. He pulls his punches. He hesitates. And in a fight for survival, hesitation is a death sentence. The armor that protects his body is intact, but the code that protects his mind has been shattered. The guilt is now heavier than the Kevlar. As he stumbles away from the Monarch Theater simulation, descending deeper into the structure, the boundary between the Bat and the man dissolves completely. He is no longer the Dark Knight. He is just a traumatized child in a costume, and he is about to meet the part of himself he has spent a lifetime repressing. He stumbles into the final chamber. It manifests as a twisted reflection of the Batcave. The trophies are rotting flesh. The computer is a wall of weeping circuitry. Standing at the center is the final boss. It isn't the Joker. It is Batman. But this version is distorted. Hulking, jagged, a creature of pure authoritarian violence. This is the Shadow self. In Jungian psychology, the shadow consists of the dark, emotional aspects of the personality that the conscious ego refuses to acknowledge. For Bruce Wayne, the shadow isn't fear. It is his totalitarian desire for absolute control, stripped of his moral code. Physiologically, the real Batman is now entering the terminal stage of neurobiological collapse. We are past the 48-hour mark of awake time. He is experiencing microsleeps, uncontrollable moments where the brain shuts down for seconds while the eyes remain open. This rapidly devolves into psychosis. His neurotransmitters are depleted. He can no longer distinguish between external threats and internal projections. He engages the shadow. He throws a perfect cross. It connects. But simultaneously to the impact, his own jaw fractures. The logic of the fight is impossible. Every blow he lands on the shadow manifests as physical trauma on his own body. Since the shadow is a projection of his own psyche, you cannot destroy it without destroying the self. This triggers learned helplessness. This psychological state occurs when an organism endures repeated painful stimuli it cannot escape. Eventually, the brain stops generating strategies. It accepts the suffering. Batman's greatest weapon, his problem-solving intellect, shuts down because every logical action has been punished. He analyzes the situation, finds a weakness, strikes, and is punished for it. The scientific method itself has become a trap. To survive Silent Hill, like James Sunderland, one must integrate the shadow. You have to admit your guilt. You have to admit you aren't the hero. Batman would need to accept that his crusade is merely a coping mechanism and that he cannot save his parents. He would have to forgive himself. But Batman is pathologically incapable of surrender. His identity is built on the rejection of powerlessness. He cannot accept the shadow. He must destroy it. He stands up, broken, bleeding, vision blurry. He raises his fist against the mirror image. He chooses the war. He chooses the delusion. He throws the final punch, and as it connects, his reality shatters. The screen doesn't fade to black. It fades to white fog. The turbine engine screams at 12,000 RPM. The proximity alarms blare. The cycle closes. Batman doesn't die in Silent Hill. That would be a mercy. Instead, his refusal to accept his trauma makes him the perfect renewable energy source for the town. He becomes a permanent resident, trapped in an eternal patrol, forever solving a crime that has no answer. If you think another hero has the mental stability to crack the code of Silent Hill, like and subscribe. Let us know who we should break down next.